Love me better than spook. Ooh. You missed my spooky song. Hello. And welcome to Frequency Broad's bonus episode. I wanted it to be spooky and I got silly. But for real, tonight we are getting spooky. Happy Halloween, my lovely freaky friends. We got our wigs on, not only for fun, but to protect that crown chakra like we talked about. And I really just want you to be able to enjoy these spooky stories. Turn off your lights, light a candle, sit in that essence of controlled, safe fear. And we do that by just taking a moment to breathe, to call in our guides, higher self, the universe, whoever it is that you connect with, and asking them to be the guardian of your bubble. So setting up your bubble of protection, asking them to be the guardians. We are here to be enjoying these stories. We're not here to match the frequency and invite these things in. Thank you for keeping us protected as we explore the fear and unknown of the darkness on this spooky Halloween night. We have 3 lovely people from my life that are joining us this time. My mother, who you've met before, my longtime friend and one-time roommate, and my brother. So I'm excited to get into it. Are you ready?
We're ready.
Here we go. Hi, Mom. Welcome back. We're so
Hi.
excited that you're here.
Hi,
And
Victoria.
we're going to get
Hi,
right.
SimplyApril.
It's Simply April 111. Mom, why don't you get right into us? Tell us the name of your story. And
Okay,
we're excited. We're ready. We're here for it.
I will do that. Okay, so the name of my story is Serpent in the Basement. So this is creepy, creepy, creepy. Friends of mine and I, we decide we want to do little investigation of ourselves in this old church in Staten Island. I won't mention the name of the church, but I'll just say it's in an old area. So anybody who sees this from Staten Island will know what I'm talking about. So we gain permission to go into this church and we go down into the basement. Now there's a basement and there's a sub basement. We're in the basement part at this time. And the energy, there's orbs all over the church and the cemetery. There's orbs in the church. So now we go down to the basement. We're sitting there. We have a little like ghost box with us just because I can hear a lot of the things, but sometimes they can't. So we're
Wait, I'm
sitting
going to
there.
pause you real quick. For those who
Okay.
didn't grow up watching Ghost Hunters like we did, what is a ghost
Uh,
box?
so it's a device that picks up sound. What it does is it filters through channels, radio frequencies, and then it will pick up words because spirit or entities will tap into energetic frequencies and be able to speak that way. I can hear them and I can feel them, but using that enables everybody to hear them.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So we're sitting there, it's dark, we've got like flashlights and this box going off. And the first thing I keep hearing is the devil, the devil. So I'm like, what's the devil? So I'm talking to, yeah, right?
Jesus
So I'm talking
Christ.
and I'm hearing you. Clearly, clear as a bell says my name, April. April's the devil. And I'm like, well, that's just rude. You're calling me the devil. That's rude. And in the meantime, it says each of my friends' names. It says Dorinda's name and it says Tina's name. It says both their names. So we're like, okay. Because those are not names you're going to get on a radio frequency, not at least all together. So it's saying the devil, it's telling us, I don't want, like, you're not wanted here. Like, but understand it speaks like you're. not want it here. Anyway, it's getting very, very cold. The lights are dimming. The one candle we had started flickering, then almost went out, flickered again. Okay, so understand, now we're in the basement. It's dark. It's getting colder. Flashlight goes out. Candle flickering almost goes out. And we're all thinking, should we leave? We're all saying, we're going to stay. Okay. Did you ever see one of those horror movies where somebody's in the audience yelling, "Get out," and nobody leaves?
Yep.
That was us. So we're sitting there, and it really is getting colder and colder. And this voice that is coming through the ghost box is getting more filled with like, out, get out. Almost when you get angry and you can't get all your words out. So now you're getting half words: out, leave, devil. Did not say our names again, but gestured by where it said gestured. The way it spoke was it knew where we were sitting, like left, right, move, leave. It was getting darker and colder, and all of a sudden, I look to my left. So now I'm here, and Tina was in the middle, and Dorinda was at the end, I believe. And now I was away from them to try to keep the energy. We were trying to split the energy because I can pick up where they can feel. And I turn as this thing, I feel this heavy breathing. And I can feel my chest get tight. Oof. And I'm feeling this heavy breathing. And as I turn, I look, and on the floor is freakiest thing I've ever seen. It's like out of that movie that I don't know the name of. This huge black, like that movie where the worms come out of the ground. Those.
Oh, yeah.
Holes, worms. I don't know.
Hole, or yeah.
No.
Continue.
Okay. And I turn, and at that moment I look, and I feel what I can only suppose was one of my guides push my head down a little bit, because I know it was a different energy. And I see, and I'm saying huge. It had to be this big around, and I want to say 8 feet long. This slithering thing coming from the back of the basement along the floor. Now we're sitting at a table downstairs, going like this around Tina and Dorinda. The freakiest thing is I can't speak at that point because the energy is completely sapped. And as it's going by them, they both get pale white, they get splitting headaches, and they get sick as anything. To the point where they both go like this and put their head down on the table. And then by the time it gets to me, I got my breath back, and I'm like, I think I yelled, "Slimy thing, floor." That was all I could get out. And they felt it, because as I was saying that, they each lifted their feet and went, "What the hell was that?" And we jumped up and we stepped back, and the room got bright for a minute and then got really dark, because at that point we all kind of threw our hands up and were like throwing energy, and the room got bright, and I felt it go past me. It actually hit my leg and stung like a jellyfish, and then it was gone.
Did it leave like a mark on your leg, or you just felt this thing?
You felt the heat, but there was no mark, because I made everybody feel it. And you felt, and we were like, okay, should we leave? So we get up to go. And as we turn, remember now I said there was a sub basement, which is also known for having a lot of activity. And we start to go towards there. And in this, I want to say, hundreds of voices screaming, "Get out, don't you dare." And I'm like, we're out. We were like, gone. We flew. I don't even know how we found our way up the stairs, because everything was pitch black. Our flashlights were dim, and we just raced out. And I will say, when we got back to our home base, because we were not too far from there, there was still something with me. So they were saging me and whatever this was fighting with me to stay with us. And it took maybe about 40 minutes of sweetgrass and sage, and it was crazy. It was, seriously, I have never seen anything crawl like that and feel it like that. It was absolutely, yeah, I wouldn't mess with that again. No.
Did you ever go
Oh, of course.
back?
Uh,
Of course you
we
did.
we tried to. We went outside. We tried to get back in, and we couldn't. And I kind of wonder if we couldn't because we were being protected from going back in, or if they experienced something. Because from what I understand, I did a little digging around. The energy stays whenever that is comes out. Whoever comes in the morning can feel that there was almost like a disturbance, and I think they try to keep that at bay. Although this particular place, I say, used to do Halloween runs, like for Halloween tours, and it just dredges it up. I don't know if they still do, but they used to. So it was crazy. It was really crazy. Yeah. Even now, it like gives me the chills a little bit. And I've seen some crazy stuff, but it gives me the chills.
That is wild.
Yeah. It's a story. It's like that was the scariest night of my life. I'm sorry. That's from a TV show that I just saw. But it was one of the craziest stories, I have to say. Because to see it myself is one thing, because I'm used to seeing it, but to have two other people feel it go over their feet and get sick from it, that's validation on so many levels that, okay, we're not alone. There's things, all different levels of energy, and that was definitely something low and seriously dark. Absolutely dark.
Well, definitely it must have been really scary because that's such a short experience to have for it to sit with you so hard. I know you've been
Yep.
through so much. So just really like I like being spooked, so really like taking a moment to like try to picture that myself is like
It's and that's why when I see something like that on TV, I'm like, that happens. That's why I don't like watching scary movies anymore, because I'm like, you know what? That stuff is real. That stuff is there. And that's,
do you know a movie or show that showed something similar to what you saw? Like looks wise?
the only movie I can think of is that movie. Oh my God, I think it was Kevin Bacon. They were in a
Holes,
desert, and
isn't it?
I don't know. Is it Hole?
I'm looking it
Isn't
up.
Holes the one with the farm?
The kids?
No, yeah, not that one.
Okay.
It was a horror movie where these things came up out of the desert, up out of the sand, and they had to jump from vehicle to vehicle. I want to say it was Kevin Bacon, but
Tremors.
that's it. But it was black.
Well, now I'm gonna need to watch Tremors.
Well, I'm not watching it. No,
It's not that good of a movie.
no.
Well, now we
But if
know
you
they're
want
real.
to, but it was completely black. So I would say, energetically, think about something that's so low level energetically, and you could feel it. Like
Mhm.
that's freaky stuff right there. That's freaky.
Well,
Yeah,
thank you, Mom.
you're welcome.
Thanks for spooking us.
Think about that next time you see a worm. Be like, mm-hmm, that worm.
Yeah, we're
And you guys look great, by the way. Thank you so much for letting me tell my spooky story, though.
hopefully you come back for more.
I
Thank
will. I
you.
definitely will. Bye, girls.
Bye.
Bye.
And I want to welcome my good friend Megan. Megan and I met a long time ago when me and her older sister Kayla, shout out Kayla, became best friends in kindergarten. And
Aw.
yeah, and then back in Megan, when did we live together? 26
2018 to 2020.
2018. Yes. Oh yeah, right before COVID.
Mhm.
So 2018, Megan and I moved in together, and because Megan grew up with me, she kind of knew that spooky things were going to happen. She's experienced spooky things with me at my house before. We used to go on ghost hunts constantly. So you were ready for it, girl. You were ready to join.
You literally warned me when we moved in together. You were like, just a couple things. You might experience some spooky stuff. And I was like, okay, like what really could happen? And obviously, the more that we lived together, the more they were happening. Like, and as
Yeah.
someone who I obviously believe as well, but some minor skepticisms or some part of my brain that was like, explain away. Like, there's a science behind that.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, it was the wind, things like that.
Yeah.
And then stuff happened that I was like, no, there ain't no way. There's no way.
That ain't the wind, girl.
That ain't the wind. And I remember when we performed the Exorcism of 690, it was just like a grim like atmosphere about the house that you didn't know until it was gone. I describe it as like when you have like a dull pain that you become used to. So the more that time goes on, you don't even recognize you're in pain until that pain's gone and you're like, wow, I felt like crap because now I feel great.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just like we were like getting sick, the animals were getting
Wait,
sick.
hold on. Let's start it way at the beginning, girl. So when Megan first moved in with me, Megan has a family member who have passed, and this family member was constantly around. He'd be doing things even before we lived together. I would see him at her house. Like he'd like communicate through me sometimes, or just like be able to be like, "Yo, yeah,
Always around.
that was so and so."
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we moved in, pause. Do you mind if I say your uncle? You don't mind if I say like your uncle? Okay. Megan's uncle came to me and kind of like gave me the warning as well. Like even after giving Megan the warning, like he's gonna be fucking with us, and
He did.
that's exactly what he did. We'd be watching a movie, and like he'd crash the dishes in the sink, and like it was such a different feeling. Like we both were like, and then we both like, right? I feel like even you felt it where we were like, that's your uncle.
Yeah. Like that was like a play. That was like a playful thing.
Yeah.
That wasn't like oh my God. Of course, watching a scary movie, you're like, oh my God, I wasn't ready for this.
Yeah.
So it was scary then.
But we could tell it was a lot more playful. And then slowly we started noticing some other things happening that had different intention, different energy to it. I think
it started around the
it start?
time when you were post grad school and things were happening anyway. Like there was the knocking, there was
I think that's where it started,
the fire
right?
alarms.
The knocking
The
on the
fire
wall.
alarms were there, but we were like, that's a playful thing. However, it was only at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, randomly. Like it was never during the day.
So let's give a layout of the house too, so they can see it. When you walk in, we have a nice living room, and then in front of the living room, next to where the door is a third extra bedroom that we never used.
Very off to the
side.
It
was just kind of there. Yeah. You walk in, we have our dining room, kitchen, go back another layer, our 2 bedrooms and the bathroom. So in the living room, we started hearing knocking on the walls, and we were both like, that's not Uncle Michael. Maybe it's the pipes.
Yeah.
Right. Even
Explain
I like
away.
to like give it up to something else first. Right. I'm like, maybe it's the pipes. Then the knocking started happening under my bed each night. And that's how I knew, okay, there's no pipes there.
But
and
at the same
I was
time,
shook even.
At the same time, that was when you started, like I said, post grad, really trying to practice your gift. And I remember before work, because we also worked together, not only lived together, before work, you'd be like, oh, I just did some like pendulum work. And he always told me no. Like the pendulum kept saying no. So I was like, is that a bad vibe? But you were like
And here I am not realizing. I'm like, whatever.
So you were practicing your gift, and the the fire alarms were going off, the knocking, it was really the knocking. And at the same time, your gift, and you were trying to practice it, and you were like, let's see if like it's something or someone. And then, like I said, it was that dull pain that you didn't realize was there until it was gone. So we weren't seeing like some other more subliminal signs or like the very low layered signs of something being around. Feeling sick,
Something not good being around.
very dingy. Like, that's the word I would describe, like very dingy and like, I don't want to say like depressy, but like kind of
It
like
it
in a
was.
rut.
Yeah.
And so Tara, tried to communicate, and the pendulum kept saying, like, no, like, don't talk to them, don't talk to them. And Tara, you had communicated with a friend who also has a gift, and they were like,
Mhm.
that's not what you think it is. I remember you telling me that it was like it appeared to you as a little girl, and your friend was
Yeah.
like, absolutely not, that's not a little
Yeah,
girl.
because for me, my thought is we have the fire alarms going off. Like this is where we're at, right? Where the fire alarms are going off in the middle of the night and it's knocking on the ground. And I'm like, it's got to be something in the house. It's an older house. It's not that old, but like it's got to be something going on in the house. So I try to connect with it, even though I'm getting a no. I'm like, and I get presented with this little girl. And I'm like, oh my God, maybe she died in a fire. Maybe she needs help crossing over. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm always trying to
Trying to be sympathetic.
yeah, like trying to be, and my family has helped spirits cross over before. So I'm like, my God, maybe this little girl. So I ask, do you need help? And that's when I got the yes. So I was like, oh, yeah, your girl's right freaking on it. She knows what's going on. So I asked my mom's coworker who worked at her shop that she had at the time, and I said, "Little girl's coming to me. I think she needs help crossing over." She said yes. His face was like, "No." He's like, "That is not what you think it is." And I came home and I was like, Megan, I don't know. And we, like Megan said, we weren't recognizing because it wasn't knocks and fire alarms, just like my mom said in the previous story where that lower energy thing came in and they got sick. We didn't even realize that now hold on. We had 2 cats, 2 fish, a turtle, a lizard, a bearded dragon, 2 snails, and a dog. Okay. Actually,
I don't
I don't
I
think
don't
we
think
had Mac
Mac
yet.
was,
So
nope, nope.
minus the dog. 9 pets in this house. Every single one of them getting sick.
Yeah, just weird stuff.
Every single one being weird, getting sick. And I'm not piecing it together because I'm not seeing the lights flicker or like the TV would always get louder and lower.
Yes.
They'd always mess with the
Yep.
volumes and they'd mess with the dimming of the lights. But that I was like, oh, she's trying to get my attention, not realizing that all of this is happening. And then Megan and I've gotten a nosebleed once in my life and I got
I
elbowed in the
forgot
face to
about
get it.
those.
Mm-hmm. We both at the same time started waking up every morning with a nosebleed.
Like, frequently, like, out of the blue.
Yeah.
And we, again, chalked it up to, it's the weather. Wow, we're keeping the house really
Heat.
cold. It's the heat now. Any excuse to not recognize, like, why are we both getting nosebleeds when this is not like a super common thing?
Mm-hmm. And was there a breaking point or was it just when we got oh no, that's not what you think it is? Was there like something else that like made us realize we needed to do this like exorcism style?
I think it had kind of like escalated pretty quickly, where it was you were trying to communicate, and then I think when they got that signal of like someone's here to like communicate with, or someone's here to like cross us over, things did start happening. Like the knocking
Yeah.
increased, the fire. All I
That.
remember is the fire alarm kept happening. And I think I told you this story. I actually live tweeted this as I'm in my bed that one night when you were in France for a week. So,
Mm-hmm.
about Tara and I as roommates, she was an early riser, early to bed. I'm a late riser, very late to bed. So Tara's in France. I'm watching the cats, and of course the other animals too. And I hear footsteps. Now, this is 1 o'clock in the morning. I also fall asleep to the TV. So then 1 o'clock in the morning, I hear footsteps walk across my room, the hallway in front of my room. And I left the door cracked for the cats to come in and out. So I'm thinking, my first thought, wow, Tara's up late. 2 seconds later, I'm like, Tara's not here. So I'm in my bed about to fall asleep. I'm like perked up a little now, but I'm like, I could ignore this. Then 2 seconds later, we had those like wooden shades. So they rattled and made noise when the window was open and whatever. This was like an unnatural amount, like a weird amount of rattling. So now I'm like, I'm up. Like, I'm perked up. So I pick my head up and I look around. Both cats and like both very friendly, great boys. They didn't really mess with each other. Like they didn't really like snuggle
Yeah,
and cuddle. Like they
yeah.
didn't sleep together. So I'm awake. They're both sitting on my bed, staring at the door. So it's very rare for them to be like together on the bed anyway, with me
Mhm.
staring at the door. So now I'm full blown, like, I'm up. This is weird. Like, this is a weird thing. My TV volume is 0. So I'm like, I'm hearing actual things. So, of course, now I'm a little scared and I'm like, you know what? Screw this. I'm just going to bed. The covers keep you safe, right? You're like 10 years old again. You're like, the covers are magic. So I'm like, whatever, under the covers. Now, outside between mine and Tara's rooms was a closet. Very distinct sound, and it didn't click close. So it was very annoying, but I always, every time I walked past it from the bathroom, whatever, I would always have to give it like a little push close. And I did it every night. So I know that door was closed. So now the last thing that happened that night, I'm laying down, I'm like, screw this. I hear jingling of the doorknobs. I'm like, fuck this. I'm going to bed. I go to bed, I wake up, the closet was wide open. Don't know what was in the closet for them, but that was another thing that had happened when I was alone and I was
Yeah.
like, I'm not imagining this. Like this is happening to me. So
Yeah.
that happened. Then you started
And then you're
really
right. The knocks started getting a lot louder. Andrew would sleep over and he started hearing the knocks under the bed to the
Yep.
point where, like,
And every
girl
night.
who loves to be spooked, we're like, I'm not putting my feet down. And I would just sit there, same with the covers, and be like, guys, please, like, I don't want to, I just like the under the bed thing. I'm like, like, and it was like loud ass knocking. Sorry if that was a little too loud, but like loud ass knocking. And then in the walls, banging in the walls. And
And
almost every night,
same time at
same
night.
exact time at night, and almost every night, if not like every couple nights, the fire alarm going off 2, 3 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was just the same things escalating without us realizing the ailments to ourselves and the mood to ourselves, even though, you know, I've had depression before and that kind of, it was different. It was just,
Yeah.
like you said, like dingy kind of feeling. So once we realized that something was trying to trick me, because that's what they love to do.
Tara comes
They
home and
straight
says,
up,
Megan, we need to do an exorcism.
I was like, if you're showing up as a little girl lying to me that you need to be crossed over, what you actually are is some kind of nasty shit asking if they can come in. And all it is me saying, yeah, come here, I got you, for it to be like, boom, I'm here. And if this is already happening, I can't even imagine what would have happened if I were to let that being in. So I said to Megan, do you feel comfortable? Do
It
you
was
feel
like
comfortable
one night,
helping me out?
I'm sitting on the couch, probably high. And you're like, Megan, we got to do an exorcism. I'm like, oh, geez. Right now? You mean right now? I'm not ready for this.
And so my family has this, I believe it's from the Celtic side, but it could be from the Italian side, because it sounds Italian, where we cut up onions and garlic and we put it in the corners of every room and then outside the house. And then we used holy water and sage to cleanse each room. So
And we used black
Meg
tourmaline in each
and
of our
black,
rooms.
yes, and black tourmaline's in the bedroom, especially by my bed. So we kind of set it up where I was like, all right, Megan, would you mind doing the sage? I'll do the holy water and like get this motherfucker out of here.
Now,
Like, because,
now, mind you, so again, like I said, I have a small, healthy amount of skepticism. And I'm raised like everybody on the South Shore of Staten Island, Roman Catholic, Irish Catholic, you know? So in the back of my mind, I'm like, they're gonna think I'm the weak link. They're gonna attack me. I'm the train of this thing. I'm behind Tara. They're gonna be like, this girl's the one. I'm latching on this one. So I'm following behind Tara. Tara says her little piece. She's going in. I'm holding the stage. I'm like, okay,
and
cool.
mind you, too, we set up the stage as far as, and I'm just saying this in case anyone has to experience themselves. Every mirror got covered
Oh yeah.
because they're portals. So we were like, we had a giant mirror, a full wall
Love
mirror
that guy.
in the middle of the house. Love that guy. And that all the mirrors needed to be covered. They all had crystals on them as like a barrier as well. We got ourselves, I was wearing crystals. I think I gave you some to put in your
Yep.
pocket. We were trying to use every fucking tool possible. And our goal was starting in the bedrooms and working our way to the front of the house, saging each room, which she had I forget what it's
It
called,
was
like
a
the shell.
shell. It was a shell
Is
with
it
sage. And then I had a
Yeah, and the
feather.
feather.
So that was my only job. And also, I'm in a t-shirt, right? So now we're going through. Tara's saying like, good spirits can stay. Like if
I'm
you're a
like,
bad
get the
spirit, like
hell out of
you're
here.
not welcome
You ain't
here.
freaking welcome.
Doing the thing. I'm just following along. She's putting the onion and garlic. It smells great in there. Putting the onion and garlic around. Also, we opened all the windows and turned all the fans
Yes.
on high. So we were like, it's going to be smoky in here. We're going to clear it out. So we do my room first, no problem. I think we actually started with the dining room, then my room, then your
Yeah,
room.
dining room. Yeah, we like
So,
did the middle of the house
yeah.
and worked back. And
So,
I also want to clarify for those who've ever cleansed a house, we're not talking a bundle here where it's all wrapped up. I'm talking a couple of loose
loose.
sage in a bowl.
Yep.
Okay, so it's only to start. It's only given our casual amount of
Yeah.
smoke,
Yeah.
light smoke.
So
Go
as
ahead.
soon as we go to Tara's room, I swear that shit went up in flames. And like I said, I'm in a t-shirt. So my hand is burning. Like it was burning my hand. I'm walking behind it. The smoke is coming up. I'm crying. Like my eyes are watering. Like I couldn't see. I told Tara, I was like, Tara, like I gotta stop. Like Tara, we gotta switch jobs. I can't do this right now. Tara had a long sleeve, so she did one of these and like held it in her hand. So we switched jobs. So now I'm like full blown into this, and I'm like, fuck this. So now I take over Tara's job, and I'm like, bad spirits, get out of here.
I will
I'm
say, Megan, you got so into. You went from like skeptical to like this motherfucker just blinded me. You took that
I
holy
was like,
water
this is
and you're
not
spraying it on every wall. You're like, get out of
I'm going
here!
so
You're
hard.
not
I'm like,
welcome.
nope, I'm not taking any chances right now. So I'm into it. I'm like, screw this. Get out of this house. You are not welcome here. If you're good, you can stay. But if you're not, get out of here. So we go through all the rooms. And like Tara had said earlier, that last room by the front door off the living room, spare room, that was the last room we had to do. As soon as we get to the last room, now we got a good flow, whatever, the fire alarm in Tara's room goes off. And I always felt like that was a weird, like, last ditch effort to like separate Tara and I and
Mm-hmm.
try to get us to stop our routine or stop what we were doing and to have me go or one of us go to another room, stop the routine and stay. Like it was the last
Mm-hmm.
room. We smoked up the whole, like Tara's room was smoky for a hot minute for us to like go through the rest of the house and get to the last room. And then all of a sudden the alarm goes off. So I quickly
Yeah,
run.
I would say it probably took us another 20 minutes to really pay attention to each other room
Yeah.
and get to the
Put the
front
stuff in
before
all
the
the
fire alarm went
corners.
off.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
like a hot minute before, like, it should have
Mm-hmm.
happened immediately, especially when as soon as I walked in there, that shit went up and I was like, Tara, help. So last ditch effort for whatever that thing was to stay. I scurry back to the room. We finish up what we're doing. We go outside. We do the outside of the house. We go in. All the smoke is cleared. Put the fire alarms back on. Close the windows. Me and Tara are just laughing our asses off. We are like the air, like I said about that dull pain, the pain was gone. So we were like, what
Mm-hmm.
the hell? We're like laughing, having a grand old time. We're playing with the animals. We leave the cage door open to the bearded dragon cage. The cage is wide open. I'm like, Tara, I have to pee. She goes, oh, I have to go wash my hands. Follows me to the bathroom. We forget what we're doing. I'm like, Tara, what are you doing in here? She's like, I don't know.
Like
It
it
was
was
just
so
so
light.
funny.
Yeah, it was like what like
Like
it
a
went
good
from like
mood.
get the fuck out of my house to immediately like whoa, like as if we were stoned without ever smoking
Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
And when I tell you the banging stopped, the knocking stopped, our pets got better,
Mhm.
I never got a nosebleed again. There was so much that
It felt
continuously
safer.
built up. Yeah, it continuously built up until that breaking point of doing that cleansing on the house, that exorcism on the house, where like Megan said, that last ditch effort, setting it ablaze, like things were banging, things were moving, things were like getting freaking wild until we made the lap. As soon as we finished that lap outside, which honestly, I thank God that our next door neighbor happened to be my mom's friend who's also a witch.
Yeah.
So I'm like outside, like people are gonna think I'm fucking crazy, like just saging and
And me
holy
chanting,
watering our
"Get
house.
out of our house."
But as scary as that was, the complete and utter flip side of coming into that space and feeling like everything was so much lighter
hmm
and funnier and happier and
Yeah.
like
Even the animals all came out. Like I said earlier,
yeah,
the cats didn't really like. Obviously, they're brothers, you know, but they were both like out and about, chilling. Like left the cage door open. We're laughing at whatever on the couch. Like we don't even know what we're doing, and it's just like it was such a different atmosphere. And for someone like myself, who, you know, I'm not as like visually seeing, like, you know, I'm not communicating with anyone from the other side, like I'm not as like, oh, I'm comfortable with this, like, oh, I'm comfortable, like I know it's just a good ghost. So like for me to like recognize like something's up here, like
mhm,
this is not like, even for myself, I love scary movies, like I love to be scared, like there was just something in my gut that was like, I can't explain this one away. Like I can't
mhm,
really, like there was just something about it where I was like, something's telling me that like I shouldn't get out of my room tonight. Like when the handle of the doors are rattling, or, you know, I hear the window going. Something's like, you know what? This isn't just you half asleep. This is something more. So even for me to be
mhm.
like, no, something went on. And we got rid of that something, but something went
We
on.
did. And I mean, I'm sure we might have mentioned it to our other friends because all of my friends know that like that's a part of my life. But when I was back home, I definitely was not as involved as I am right now. So we might have mentioned that like, oh, we did a thing at the house,
Performed
but
an
I don't even know if we
exorcism.
did. Yeah, right. But I remember our friend Sarah coming over soon after, and she was like, "Feels good in here. Did you guys clean? Like, did you do something?"
Yeah.
Like, people were noticing an energetic difference, even without us being like, the spooky thing was happening, and now we got rid of it. It was just like, they're like, "Wow, it feels really great in here. You guys got a good vibe." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Now we do."
But I remember feeling like actual time, besides like, you know, that scary movie feeling of being scared, the time that like made me nervous about like this is kind of like getting too much, or this is kind of getting like like genuinely spooky, scary, and dangerous, was when you came home and you were like, Megan, like that thing that's in the house is like not what we think it is. Like it's not good. Like it's not friendly. It's not here as a little girl. Like it's something more. And that was the first time my heart was like, yeah, I could see that. And like, yeah, we got to do something about this. Like we can't just live like this in the apartment anymore. And
Yeah. And I think that's where we put together the bloody nose, the being sick, because I think before that we were just like, oh, whatever. And then that I remember sitting at the dining room table and being like, girl, our noses have been bleeding. Like
and
that's
then they
not
just stopped.
like
It just stopped. It all stopped.
everything stopped.
Yeah. Except the funny tricks from Uncle Michael. But
Well,
besides that,
Uncle Michael always be out here.
hey, I told him he could stay when I was doing the holy water on all the walls.
We literally did. We called out Uncle Michael. We were like, except for Uncle
Everybody else is gone.
Michael, get out of
As soon as that
here.
sage lit up, I was like, screw this. Uncle Michael, help me out here. Holy water on the
Yeah,
walls.
yeah. Oh, what an
What a
adventure,
memory.
girl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
never forget.
And we
That
have
made
all
me a
these other little
believer.
memories growing up. Yeah, and we've had some other little memories growing up of especially you visiting Van Duzer,
Dude, yeah. Stuff.
which is going to be my brother Anthony's on next, and that's his story is all Van Duzer.
Oh boy. I'm sure there's a lot of
Ah,
stories. But
there is.
yeah, being friends with Tara, what a whirlwind, huh?
What a ride.
What a
What a
ride.
ride to be my friend.
Honestly,
More
it's fun
specifically,
because we
what a
love
ride to live with
it,
me.
but it's fun because we love scary movies. So we're like, oh, this is entertaining, until you're like, this isn't a scary movie anymore. This is real life.
Mhm. I'm having bloody noses and someone's knocking under my bed. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
I'm done.
that's
Thank
actually
you.
happened to us. But
Yeah.
glad we did it together, buddy.
Hell yeah, girl. Well, thank you so much for joining
Of
us today.
course. So glad I got to share that story.
I know I couldn't tell it without you. I was like, I need my girl here.
Yeah. You know what? As someone who, like, maybe there's other fellow listeners who are like, that's not real, or like, I also have a little bit of skepticism. I could explain that away. I was in your shoes. And when you feel it, and it's a feeling that is in your gut and in your heart, like, you know, like, there's more to this, that you can't just be
Mhm.
like, whatever. Like, this is scary movie vibes. No, it's not. It happened to us. We heard the knocking. Period.
Hell yeah. Speak the truth, Megan. Hell yeah.
All right, ladies. Thank you for having me. It was so much
Thank
fun.
you so much.
Bye,
Love you,
guys.
pal.
Thank you,
Love you.
Megan. Bye.
Bye. Okay, now it's time for my solo story. And this story is one that I don't think I will ever forget. And I'm sure the people involved will never forget either. So, my sophomore year of college, I went to Rutgers University and I was living in a dorm room where it was just two of us in a room on a long hallway of rooms similar to that. And it was coming around Halloween, and the neighbor across from me was mentioning with everybody like, oh, we should do a Ouija board. We should do a Ouija board. And I was like, and like at this point, I don't know them very well. It's only October. I pulled them aside. I said, this is going to sound crazy, but I'm really sensitive. I see people on the other side, and I do not feel comfortable with you doing the Ouija board on our floor, if not our entire building. Like, not trying to dictate your life, but I'd really appreciate it if you just did it anywhere else to protect me and everybody else in this building. And he turns around and he goes, well, I believe you because I also have a gift to me. And I was like, then boy, why are you using a Ouija board? But neither here nor there. We all explore in our own way, no judgment. And I said to him, well, the Ouija board opens up a lot, and I think it could be really dangerous. And he mentioned to me that him and his sister had done a Ouija board at his house, and they called in whoever was there, classic macho college dude who's like, oh, whoever's here, like, come out now. And I don't remember his story from home, so I'll just say some things happened that spooked them. They ended up throwing the cursor. I don't even know Ouija board. I don't even know what it's called. It has a name. That thingy that moves when shooting across the room. So they were like, fuck that. They threw it out. They didn't pick up the cursor. They didn't say goodbye. They just threw it out, which was issue number 2. Number 1 is opening it. Issue number 2 is not closing it. They threw it out. The board ended up back on their front porch. They tried to throw it out again. So he tells me that a main reason why he wants to open the Ouija board again is because he knows that there's a little girl that has been bothering him. And I'm like, well, son, that ain't the way to deal with this little girl who came from the Ouija board in the first place, but whatever. We decide to have a seance in my college dorm room with a couple of other friends of ours. So we sit in a circle. I set a line of protection. I'm like, you cannot enter the circle. We have some grandparents come. People are feeling shoulders being touched, some hands being touched, things like that. And we all feel kind of safe until I see her on my bed. And when I tell you she looks like a mix of The Grudge and The Ring, I am not kidding. And I see her in my mind's eye, and I'm like, oh my God, that's so scary. And I open my eyes, and directly across is the boy who wanted to have the seance with me. And he opens his eyes and he goes, you see her? I go, I see her. And behind him is my bed where she's sitting, and you see the indentations of her feet standing on my bed. So I'm trying to stay real calm and not freak out everybody else because only him and I can see her. Everybody else is like, just like, ooh, we're sitting in a circle holding hands. So I tell that person, I don't want to say his name, but I tell that person, okay, what I need you to do is just stay calm and grounded. Like, don't let her in. We have this bubble of protection. She is circling as if she's banging on the bubble, circling, trying to get her way in. And I ask her, I'm like, you can come to me outside the bubble. Why are you here? And she comes really close into my ear and she goes, oh, it's his name. Let's say his name is John. John. And I was like, fuck. Well, this ain't for me and I don't like her. Then she zips under and she's under my bed. Just under the bed. And she's just zipping around the room because she can't get into the circle until eventually she's sitting on the edge of the bed. And I even had a couple other people open their eyes and see the dent of her sitting while she's dangling her feet off the edge of the bed. So I tell her she's not welcome here. You have to go. I ask her to leave. I ask my guides to open up the circle wider so that way we can exit. And we do. from that point on, I do not want to talk to her. I do not want to touch this with a 10-foot pole. And I tell John, don't engage. We haven't gotten rid of her, and I'm not taking on that. We're just not going to engage. Of course, as a man does, he does. And he starts screaming every night at her. I dare you, do something. Where are you? Oh, that's all you got. She was ripping blinds off the thing. She was pushing things. He was waking up with like marks on his body. And honestly, I know it's not a good ending, but that's where it ends because I distanced myself from that situation and I never touched it again. And I honestly don't know if he's still attached to her to this day. And that's my college dorm grunge. I haven't decided the name of the story yet, but you know what I mean.
Yikes.
And now we have my brother, the one who put ketchup on everything that made me hate ketchup, Anthony Antrieri. Thank you, Anthony, for joining us. We'd love to hear your spooky story, and I'm excited for it because it's a good one.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. So, at one of the places we grew up was on a street called Van Duzer in Staten Island. Little backstory about the house, at least from what I remember, is it was built by a vice president somewhere in the 1800s, and the house is still a historical landmark. So all the outside and most of the area can't be touched, but it has changed hands. At one point, it was some kind of, I believe, a makeshift hospital. It was many things over many years. Our uncle bought it, and we lived there briefly. And just from the outdoor, the place is creepy. I mean, there's no way. To this day, it's creepy. You walk in the house, it's creepy. It's very unfamiliar.
Can I give a little more history before you get into it? Because especially Victoria and I talk about energy and frequency all the time and how it can live in that place. It fucking lived in that place. Like Anthony said, it was a hospital at one point. There were still, when we lived there, hallways and corridors that the servants would use that were separate from the rest of the house. There were creepy little like nooks and crannies that were like locked off. There was a doctor who did like botched surgeries and abortions in the basement. And I think it's, from what I understand, really started with him because he became an alcoholic when he was doing these surgeries. And it seemed that every hand it fell into after had a substance abuse problem as well. At some point, I think it was a crack house. It was like all over the place, but that energy kept living. And anyone historically that moved there would become really angry, separate themselves from people, or have substance abuse. So I just want to set that's the energy that we are now moving in. My uncle lives alone. It had what, 6, 7, 8 bedrooms?
At least, yeah.
At least.
Yeah, I
was
try to
huge.
remember.
Yeah.
It's like you said. The main thing I remember, the servants. So the servants had a separate staircase made. So when you actually walked up and down the main staircase, you would see a makeshift door that was hidden, and you could actually go in there and take what was the servant staircase was still active when we were there.
Yeah.
Not that anybody used it, but it was clearly everything was still there. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I just wanted to fill in that, like, that's the energy we moved into. And when we moved in with him, he was renovating.
Right.
And for those who know anything about haunted houses, then that's stirring up a lot of the energy because he's knocking down walls, looking at things. So continue.
Yeah, and the side he was renovating the most was actually what was the servants' area where they lived. So they lived in that side, excuse me, and that attached to that hidden staircase that was left off so they could go room to room without disrupting whoever lived there at the time. That's what he was renovating. I changed a couple of bedrooms. And that's why I picked this house, because every room you were in was extremely different. from the guest room. I mean, just being in that house, you would see things out of the corner of your eye all the time. You'd hear things all the time. I went the other way and tried to just put everything out as much as I could and ignore it, which works at times.
At times.
Yeah, but it's hard to just ignore the constant, I'll call it nonsense that would happen. Like the rare times you'd be alone in the house, you never felt alone. That was definitely ensured. There was, I mean, when you girls, obviously you're younger than I am, when you were little, they were freaking us out even more because they would just come
Oh,
and be
yeah.
like, "Oh, who's this person? Who's that?" Or just randomly talking to nothing.
Yeah. I
That's
would see
kind of
a
creepy.
lot of people in that house. So I'd be like, "Oh, I just talked to the person on the stairs." And you're like, "The who now?" Like,
Yeah,
it was so active. Yeah.
yeah, and that's one of the things I thought about. I have two things in that house that really stood out. So one of the first bedrooms I was in was on the third floor with my brother. Now you had like it was a very old, like the whole house. It was nice looking, but very old, creepy style. Like I said, it's very unfamiliar to be in an 1800s house nowadays. So you had this long, beautiful staircase, very noisy, and it went
Yeah.
all the way up to the third floor. So you had tiers. You had maybe about 20 steps up, then the landing, go down the hallway, another 20 steps, landing, hallway, and it went like that all the way to the third floor. My first bedroom was on the third floor, facing the staircase with no door. So every single night I would go up there, you would hear what sounded like walking slow steps all the way up the staircase. This would be all night long, all the way around to the banister, all the way up to where my door should have been. There was no door on it. Would stop, would never hear it in the room, and then pause. You would feel like something was staring at you, and then slowly you'd hear the footsteps retract all the way back down the stairs. That would happen probably, what I remember, like 3 times a night, every single night, just slowly walking up. And it's funny, I jumped into, when I jumped in here, you were saying about a typical man does scream and yell. So
Yeah.
that was happening quite often. And it's daytime, so I'm feeling strong. And I'm in the house by myself. And I was on the phone, I think, with my girlfriend at the time and feeling even stronger. So I started to yell and scream and call it out while I was on the third floor. And the third floor had like a makeshift dry kitchen, a bunch of cabinets along one of the walls. It was my bedroom, and then like a little living room area, which was my other brother's like living quarters. And as soon as I start doing that, all of a sudden the phone goes black. She's not on the call anymore. Noise starts coming from the kitchenette area, and what I hear to be footsteps like running at me. So now all that bravado went right out the door, and I ran as fast as I could to those staircase. But I'm running as fast as I can, and I'm hearing steps behind me the entire time, down every 3 flights. So much, and like I said, it's in the middle of the day. I locked myself outside in pretty much boxers and a t-shirt, sitting on the steps in front of there until someone else came home. I wouldn't go back in the house.
I remember that story. I remember
Shortly
being with
after
mom when
that,
we got that call.
and that was just like, these are like the main things. Like I said, every room I was in felt very different, very weird. Another bedroom I was in was yours and Kelsey's at one point.
Yeah.
Talk about a different energy, but this one. So I used to go to sleep with the radio on. In short, I don't do that anymore. So everything starts slow. I go to bed, and again, I guess there were no doors in the house because I didn't have a door either in this one.
I don't think I did either. I don't know why there was no doors in the house.
I don't know, but this came out. Thankfully, there was no doors. So it's same thing. It started out slow. Once I moved into that bedroom at night, I turned the radio on, and as I'm starting to go to sleep, you'd hear every now and then. It sounded like the radio changing, very slow, and then go back to what it was playing. So again, I try to ignore it, put it out of my head. This happened probably a week or two, maybe a little longer. Every now and then you hear it in the middle of the night, you'd hear it like jump. All right, I just, tried to ignore it as best I could. One night, same thing happens, except I don't know what the difference was, but the radio went super loud. It was not slow anymore. You heard this thing almost zoom like a transistor radio, which it was not. Just like someone cranked that dial back and forth until it went to some kind of old, like it's almost like something you would hear in a Western, like if you walked into a saloon.
Mm-hmm.
Just it's old enough but upbeat enough. And once it went on that, then you heard stomping, you heard clapping, you heard dancing. Now I'm wide awake, laying in my bed, which faced the wall. My eyes are wide open, staring at that wall. I would not turn around. The whole time I would not turn around. And I'm hearing banging, I'm hearing stomping, I'm hearing dancing, I'm feeling taps on the shoulder. And I'm fucking frozen solid. Staring at it. I won't move. It was something like maybe 3 or 4 in the morning when my uncle happened to walk by to go to the bathroom because his bedroom's right down the hallway. That everything stopped immediately. I turned over. I saw him walking. I jet out of there. He was not too thrilled because he just woke up. But it was, that house was just, you got the feeling you never knew what to expect. It was always different. It was just, yeah, every room you in, you had a different feel.
So much so that the newspaper wrote an article about us in that house.
Yeah, it was not a pleasant house. Beautiful house, but I'll stay away. And I do. I drive past it for work every day. I still stare at it. It looks exactly the same, kind of decrepit. That's. I think when we moved or when he sold it, it was supposed to be a restaurant. Never got done. The
Yeah,
grass
everything it
grows
was
to like
supposed to
5 feet
be,
high.
everything it was supposed to be, it never made it.
Yeah.
Everything would always fall apart for whoever lived there.
Yeah, it's just definitely creepy vibe.
Well, thank you. That, as soon as you mentioned Van Duzer, I was like, oh, my whole body. Like that story, I'm sure is scary to hear, but I know that house so well, and I remember seeing every shadow, every sound. Okay, he seems frozen. Oh, he's gone. We lost him. If he comes back on, we'll say our thank you and goodbye.
Okay.
He did a good storytelling.
He did. I know. My heart is palpating right now. But also at the same time, I'm like, how do I get this job when I cross over? And how can I spook the shit out of my loved ones? Because I'm
Oh,
coming for all
well,
of you.
you definitely can very easily. Because just like Megan's Uncle Michael, they be out here just for fun sometimes too.
It'll be hold on.
Yeah, wait, let
Now
me
I'm
pour
now I'm
this.
spooking myself.
You know what, too? Andrew just came home and I hear him banging around as Anthony's talking about them stomping. And I was like, oh my God. Well, that's interesting that he just got kicked off of his computer and his phone is dead now.
You know what was really weird? I was like, is it just my eyes from the ring light or whatever? But like everything started, my gaze, like there's like a dark filter that went over my eyes. And I like couldn't shake it. And I was like, is some like setting happening? But as soon as he got kicked off, I like saw light, like it feels normal again.
Mm.
What's it called? Van Dusa?
Okay, I think it's actually said Van Duzer, but nobody calls it
Oh,
that. It's Van Duzer Street. But um, if you look up the article, April Entrieri or April McNally, I'll try to find the article and put it below in the description. It talks about how my uncle Petey, who also has a shop upstate New York,
hey, Uncle Petey.
hey Uncle Petey, with him and my mom both living there and both having a gift, they had someone come and do a report on my mom and the things that she used to see. And my brother was right. For me, it there were times where it was scary. That's also the house that I swear to God, I swear to God, I saw the Easter Bunny. And I don't believe in like Santa, the Easter Bunny, that kind. But I'm like, I saw something that tried to lure me because it was the Easter Bunny, because it was the middle of the night and it took me downstairs.
So creepy.
And then I watched Donnie Darko when I grew up, and I was like,
Oh,
oh
hell
my
no. Oh
God.
my God.
Like, so that house had so much going on in it. And it was just, we actually lived there twice, while my uncle did. We left and then we came back because we moved a lot after my parents got divorced. But even for him, he had a hard time getting out of that house because it holds you down. It is. Look a picture. Look it up. Can I put the address? Is that weird? I'm like, look on Google Maps because you could feel it. You look at that house, you could feel it. Mm.
So, my story is pretty short and sweet. I've had a lot of creepy things happen here and there, and I feel like I've blocked a lot of it out. But I lived in this really old apartment in Northwest Portland. It was probably built, I think, actually, I did look it up. It was built in 1929,
Mm.
and it was on the top floor. And in the corner of this apartment was kind of these like red stains that kind of look like splattered blood, but I just kind of disregarded it and like looked the other way and assumed it was nail polish or something that had stained. But
Mm.
in the middle of the night, I would like feel this woman who was like battered and beaten in the corner sobbing. And throughout my time living there, it just felt so heavy and I was so depressed. And I felt like something would take over me as I would sleep. So I had a friend who was from Estonia and beautiful soul, loved her dearly. But every time we got together, spooky ass shit would happen. And it kind of got to the point where we were like, maybe we shouldn't be hanging out because there was
Mm.
just so much activity. She had stayed the night and she said in the next morning that in the middle of the night, I sat up and she woke up and was like, "Victoria, what are you doing?" And I just like look at her and I don't say anything. And I'm still just like sitting upright. And she's like trying to convince me to lay down, go back to sleep. And I must have, right?
Mhm.
So that's not even the creepy part because I'm like, I guess I'm the creepy ghost. Like I wanted to
No,
be.
that is creepy.
So there were these little entities, and by little, I mean they were probably like 4 feet high, who would follow her around everywhere. And they were like her little protector guardians. Come to find out, her father was a scientist and worked for the Estonian government. And she said that these little fuckers would like follow her around everywhere. And she thought that maybe her father had something to do with it through some sort of experiment, because they would kind of be around her throughout her upbringing. And then when she moved to the States, were just always around. But one of the last times I saw her, as she was leaving my apartment, they I saw them like trailing behind her because I was like, get these little shits out of my space. Like it was just too, they weren't scary per se, but I was just like, I don't know what
Mhm.
these entities are. It's not like having a human ghost. And obviously, I love extraterrestrials. I love my Pleiadians, right? But this was like some sort of strange hybrid, almost robot like entities.
Mm.
And I have never seen or experienced anything like that since then. But I just wanted to tell this story because there are spooky things out there. And obviously, more and more, we're going to see or hear stories about things other than just like the good old ghost in the corner of the room.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I hope she's doing well. I haven't heard from her in a very long time. And I'm curious if they're still with her.
Me too.
Yeah.
Ugh. Well, I'm officially spooked thinking about my
I
spooky
spooked
stories.
you, or did you spook?
I'm just spook. I think I'm still on my Van Duzer,
Dude, that house.
that
That house.
house, and the fact that it just shut off his computer at the end of that, like,
Yeah.
that ain't no mistake.
Uh-uh.
Should
Whew, my
we?
heart is pumping. This is like better than cardio.
Yeah, right. Should we take a moment to close it out?
Yes.
Okay, so just with us now, please, like just thanking our guides or whoever it is you called in to protect you, keeping us always safe. May the circle be open but never broken. Thank you for joining us for these spooky stories. We have plenty more from us and those we love, so let us know if you like them. Maybe we'll share a little bit more.
Make it spooky all
Should
year.
I do like our final closeout spook? You ready?
Yes.
Goodbye.